today's a very sad day for the Port Adelaide Football Club and also South Australian football, with the sad passing overnight of a legend in South Australian football, Geof Motley. Geof started with Port Adelaide in 1953, played 250 games, an incredible record, 9 premierships, was part of the 6 in a row, took over from Foss Williams in 1958 as captain coach to win the 6 in a row. As a dour defender, swung forward in the second half of the 1957 grand final and kicked 7 goals. Australian Football Hall of Fame member, half-back flank in Port Adelaide's greatest ever team, had an incredible career as a player, continued, moved on and coached at North Adelaide, was a long time chairman of selectors at Port Adelaide, and then moved into player management. And if you think about some of the legends of South Australian football that Geof managed, and not only did he manage their on-field, but had incredible influences on their lives more generally. We talk about greats like Craig Bradley, Nathan Buckley, Warren Treadray, just had an enormous influence on the game in South Australia. More broadly, that he had an incredible life. Him and his late wife, Gaynor, had 3 incredible children. Juanita, who I'd just like to give a shout out to, Juanita's done an incredible job over the last couple of years supporting Geof, and our thoughts are with Gaynor, Peter, of course, and Brett. And we all remember, Peter was a champion player in his own right in that tragic accident in 1987, where again Geof devoted his life to helping and supporting. He was very successful in business. The Motley and Greer sports store, he's one of the first people to move into sports stores. Had a successful manufacturing business, and then gave back to a lot of charities. So, as I said, a really sad day for South Australian football and the Port Adelaide football family. Our thoughts are with, of course, Geof's family, but also all of Geof's former teammates, and all of the people that today would have heavy hearts.
What did he mean to the footy club, Richard?
Well, he was a legend of the football club. Played in an incredible era. If you think about 6 premierships in a row back in the 50s, 62, 63, 65. He was captain coach in 1959. Played 28 state games for South Australia, and the one quote that I'll always remember of Geof, and I think it's in the audio in the museum here, is that we did it for the people of Port Adelaide, and the one thing that we could deliver for the people of Port Adelaide was a premiership. And of course, in those days, 9 premierships in 12 years through his period was incredible.
The word legend gets thrown around a lot these days, but clearly he was in that basket at Port Adelaide.
He absolutely was, and you think about the names when Foss Williams, John Cale, Geof Motley, Bob Quinn, Bob McLean. He very much, he's in that category at Port Adelaide, absolutely.
The fact that he grew up around here as well, does that only add to the prestige and the legend that is Geof Motley?
It does, absolutely. It's, again, it was an era where, people grew up and represented the club that they supported as kids, and he grew up just around the corner here at Alberton Oval, and that he always had that great sense of connection to our people and our community, and I think that's absolutely one of the key reasons for that.
It's a long time since he played, but obviously he's still part of the club. What did he do? I mean, last few years obviously he's been away, but what did he do post playing?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously he was a really influential player manager, but Geof's always been visible and active around the club. Certainly, I've been at the club for 23 years, and Geof's always been around the place. His great mates, Bob Philp and Steve Traynor, run the Swoopers. They get together for a lunch every couple of months, and Geof was always at that. So Geof's always been really active and visible around the club. Right until the last month or so.
Fair enough to say he never got himself involved in the politics of the club.
Geof?
Yeah.
Well, no, so not that I'm aware of. No, look, I mean, Geof, you think about it, an incredible playing career. He coached. he then then he was chairman of selectors for a long period of time, and so there's so many things that he did in football, and that's why his record is it stacks up with the best of them.
In terms of, he's obviously got the players' race named after him as well. Is there any? I'm guessing there's not anything else.
Yeah, so with the redeveloped Adelaide Oval in 2014, the players' race that our team runs out of now is really proudly the Geof Motley race, and Geoff's 9 premiership teams are on that race, and that will have even more significance now. Of course, Geof is all through this fantastic museum. 9 of those premiership trophies and shields belong to Geof. Geoff's played a really important role in those. Again, you go back to the 6 in a row. There were only 6 players that played in that 1954 to 59 period, and then the great Neville Hayes is the only one remaining. God bless him. So, it's as I said, it's a really sombre, sad moment for South Australian footy when you start to think about these legends in a time that was it was just an amazing time in South Australian football.